Java has a reputation that it is verbose, and it actually is if you don't use the tools in the Java and Spring Boot ecosystem that you are provided with. Because let's say you would like to define just two simple fields in a class, and then all of a sudden you have 40 lines of getters, setters, constructors, and maybe even toString and equals methods cluttering your entire screen, cluttering your entire class. And unfortunately, that is far from being business logic itself. That is just noise. And Project Lombok is the standard way to silence that noise in the Spring Boot ecosystem. It allows you to write the code that actually matters and lets the compiler generate the boilerplate for you. So in this video, we are going to take a brief look at what Lombok does to your code, and more importantly, how to use it without actually breaking your application. And now let's actually start with something that is extremely simple, that is extremely approachable for beginners, and that is just a basic user class with very familiar fields in it. And if you would like to get this Java class to be nearly useful, what you're going to have to do is that you're going to have to create getters and setters first. And if you would like to create an instance of this class in just one line, you are going to have to create an all arguments constructor, which you are going to have to eventually adapt as you add or subtract fields from this user class. And for example, if you would like to log the instances of this user class, what you're going to have to do is that you're going to have to implement certain toString methods using your ID, and all of a sudden we have 58 lines of code in a class that we actually need only 5. And the problem is when you open up this file, let's say 6 months from now, your brain is going to have to filter out the noise, filter out almost 50 lines of garbage just to find the 4 or 5 lines that actually matter. And this is where the Lombok dependency steps in. This is where we start to get rid of these lines of code that do not necessarily matter. So what we can do here, instead of writing these methods, instead of generating them with our IDE, let's say, we can annotate this class with certain annotations that comes from the Lombok package. And when I go inside this Lombok package to be able to explore it slowly, what you are going to see is that we are going to have lots of convenient annotations that we are going to be able to use out of the box, such as the all arguments constructor. We have getters, we have setters, we have the annotation toString, or we have the equals and hashcode annotation that you are eventually going to have to implement in an introduction to Java class. But in real life systems, unless there are very strict, there are very unique use cases, you are not going to be implementing that by hand. And finally, we have even more convenient annotations such as at data, but we are going to get to that. But just as a spoiler alert, this is going to be actually very useful for DTO classes in your Spring Boot project. So if I come back to the user class, remember that we had created getters and setters using command N, using the capabilities of our IDE, but now we can just add these annotations on top. And again, just like we had to create the toString method with this IDE's capabilities, what you can do here is that you can annotate this class with a toString annotation that again comes from the Lombok package. And as you can see here, it also provides us with certain exclusion and inclusion capabilities as well if you would like to filter out some of the fields from your toString methods as well. So although Lombok is going to be by default using all your fields in your toString methods, you are also going to have the ability of having a fine-grained control over your toString methods that are going to be generated by Lombok. And if I go ahead and add this to the Java compiler, this class is now exactly identical to the 50-line version we just deleted, but to you, to us, to human developers, it is much more cleaner, it is much more readable, and it is much more focused. When you open up this class 6 months from now, you are not going to have to filter out the noise to be able to understand what this class achieves. Now, before we go further, I would like to address the elephant in the room. These 3 lines of code seems magical, but as engineers, we generally should not be trusting magic, we should trust mechanics. And the common fear for beginners stems from the fact that they don't understand what happens when we add these annotations. Where did the code go? Is it doing something at runtime? Is it going to slow down my application? And the answer is no. Lombok does not rely on, let's say, reflection or runtime tricks. It actually plugs right directly into the compiler. So for example, let's say you are using Maven as your project build tool. What Lombok is going to do is that when you install this project, or more particularly when you try to compile this project, Lombok is going to step in a process that we call annotation processing. And it is going to look at your source code. It is going to see these getter, setter, and toString annotations. And it is going to physically insert these getID methods or setFirstName methods, or let's say the entire toString method, into the compiled class file that you're going to have as a result. And if you were to decompile your application afterwards, you wouldn't actually see these annotations at all. You would see the full verbose Java code that we deleted a minute ago. And by that, you get the developer experience of a concise language like, let's say, Python, but the runtime performance of a standard optimized Java. So in a way, it is the best of both worlds. And now let's actually talk about the sweet spot for the Spring Boot, where Lombok really shines specifically for this framework, which is called the dependency injection. And for that, I'm going to be moving back to our project path, and I'm going to show you this in action on our user service. And if you have watched my previous videos, you're going to know that we prefer constructor injection over field injection. We don't want to be using auto-wired annotation on our class fields in a component, let's say a service. We want final fields and a constructor that initializes those fields. Now, so far, this is going to work just fine. But the thing is, writing this constructor manually is quite tedious. And let me show you that with an actual example in which we are going to be creating a new Java class called notification service. And I'm going to annotate this class with a service annotation as well. And now if I go back to the user service class, what we are going to have to do is that if I would like to add this notification service as a dependency in our user service class, we are going to have to manually implement, unless we would like to delete them all and then recreate it with the capabilities of the ID, which is fine as well. What we are going to have to do is that, and I'm going to close this down so that you can see my entire screen, we are going to have to pass this perimeter in, then we are going to have to set the class variable by typing in this notification service equals notification service in our constructor perimeters. And again, this is not the end of the world, but there is a much simpler way. You can actually delete all of this and annotate this class with a required arguments constructor annotation that again comes from the Lombok package. And this annotation tells Lombok that look at every field in this class, let's say in this case user repository and notification service, and pick out the ones that are marked with the final keyword. And then and only then create a constructor that takes those final fields as arguments and assigns them. And the beauty behind that is if you add a new final field or if you remove a final field, Lombok is going to automatically update your invisible constructor. You don't have to touch anything, you don't have to break your flow. It makes the doing the right thing, which is the constructor injection in this case, also the easiest thing. Now, with all that in mind, actually, if I come back to this Lombok package, you can see that we are far from done here. Not that we are going to be exploring every single annotation here, but there are still a handful amount of very useful Lombok annotations that you should know. And one of them is the data annotation, because you're going to be using lots of DTOs in your Spring Boot project, especially in the enterprise development. And at that time, when you don't just want a specific feature, but you only want a data carrier, you're going to be creating data transfer object so that you can get a, let's say, request from a front end with a JSON body, and you need a Java object to hold that data, and you're not writing any business logic in it. It is just a simple box to hold data. And for that, we actually have this perfect data annotation. And I'm going to show you that by creating another DTO class under the package DTO. And I'm going to be taking in the fields from the user class that we have worked with and paste them here. Now, if I move over to the top of this class and annotate this class with the data annotation, this is like a hitting everything switch. It bundles getter, setter, toString, equals, and hash code and required arguments constructor all into one. So this is the exact equivalent of typing in at getter, at setter, and we have toString, we have equals and hash code, and finally we have required arguments constructor. And for a simple DTO, this is perfect. These are the annotations that you are more often than not going to be needing in a DTO class. But what the data annotation is going to enable us with is the capability of having and getting this functionality with only one line instead of 5 different lines, in fact, 5 different annotations. So I can actually annotate this class with a data annotation. And after that, all I have to do is to define my fields in this DTO class. And then I have a fully compliant Java bean that is ready to be serialized or deserialized by Spring's JSON converter. And apart from this data annotation, there is actually one more annotation that you should be keeping in mind when working with DTOs, and that is the builder annotation. And the idea behind is that, let's say you have a method called create user DTO, or let's say create for the sake of brevity in your user service. And let's say, and I'm going to open these side by side so that we can see what we are working with. Let's say we would like to create a user, but we only care about its first name and age. Let's say what we are going to have to do is that we are going to have to either annotate this class with a no arguments constructor, and then we are going to be, which is not going to be compliant with the builder annotation on top, then you are going to have to add all arguments constructor as well, so on and so forth. But the point I would like to make is that either you are going to have to set first name, okay, I got set age, and that is fine as well. And then you are going to be setting first name, let's say Spring Boot Diaries, and I'm going to take this to the top, and then I will be returning this user DTO, and this is not the most convenient way to do this. And the other option is that if you are not using no arguments constructor and an all arguments constructor, but rather the required arguments constructor that comes within the data annotation, what you are going to have to do is that you are going to have to count nulls, and okay, ID is going to be null, and the first name is going to be Spring something, and then the last name is going to be null again. Then we are going to have to type in the age, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and right away you are going to be seeing, okay, user DTO constructor is not public. Then you are going to have to come here and add an all arguments constructor. This is now going to compile just fine, but look at what we just did. This is just ugly. And even if we use the empty constructor and then set the fields, or we use the all arguments constructor and have the field set like this, all of these options are ugly. And we don't really want to end up with code that looks something like this. This is extremely unreadable. You have to count nulls and you have to assign which one is which. So now what you can do here is that you can actually slap in a builder annotation on top of this user DTO class, which is going to be implementing the builder design pattern on your behalf without you having to write any piece of code. And now here in your service, instead of this constructor mess, what you can type in is that I would like to return a user DTO, and I'm going to be using this builder pattern. And here after the keyword builder, you can actually access methods that are going to be extremely convenient for you to construct proper objects without having to count nulls. For example, in this case, we can type in Spring Boot Diaries for the first name, and then for the age, let's say 13. And right after I end the line 20 with a semicolon, this is going to be compiling just fine and going to be achieve the exact same thing without, again, having to deal with that constructor mess that I just demonstrated with a couple of examples. And as a result, you are going to have to only specify the fields that you actually care about, and the rest is going to default to null or zero. And this is a massive quality of life improvement as a developer for, let's say, writing tests or cleaner service logic. And now that we are in a service class, last but not least, what I'm going to show you is the capability of using a logging interface implementation in just a one line. In the very old days, like 15 years ago, you would have printed out stuff with the system out method, which is not going to be printing lots of details, lots of metadata. It's just going to be printing the line that you would like to print. So as an alternative, what we can do here is that we can actually create a new class variable by typing in private static final, and let's say logger. Okay, sorry, this is going to be the type, and I'm going to call this, let's say, log. And then we are going to have to manually type in logger factory, and then I will get the logger for this user service class. And what this is going to enable us with is that, and okay, I obviously imported the wrong logger, so I'm going to delete this one. And this time around, IntelliJ is going to be proposing me the right one so that we don't get an error anymore. And this is going to provide you with the ability of using pre-implemented logging methods that have various capabilities and various log levels that you can use for advanced observability in production environments. For example, you could use the first one here with just a string parameter. And what this is going to do is that this is going to achieve the exact same thing as the system out println at the very least. And on top of that, it is going to be printing out lots of metadata that you can work with. And so far, this has actually nothing to do with Lombok. But the thing is, if you realize that this piece of line is also somewhat inconvenient to write and read, this is not a service concern, this is an infrastructure concern. And you really don't want to have to type that line 1,000 times in 1,000 different classes. It's a boilerplate. And with Lombok, what you can do here is that you can actually get rid of this and right away realize that there is no such thing as a variable log in my class right now, and this is not going to be able to compile. What I can do, however, is to add the convenient SLF4J annotation that again comes from the Lombok package on top of this class, and I can actually get rid of these unused imports as well. And now we again have a log variable, or more technically speaking, a variable named log available inside our class. So we can again use certain functionalities that come from the exact line that we have written by hand, and it generates the exact same static final logger line during the compilation. I mean, it is a small thing, but it actually saves you quite a lot of mental context switching every time you create a new service, and I think that's a big one in real life development conditions. And for that reason, I would actually argue that Lombok is one of those tools that once you start using it, it is actually quite painful to live without, because it creates a clear separation between the boilerplate that the language requires and the business logic that you actually care about. One thing to remember though is that remember that this is a tool, not a religion. Use it to make your intent clearer. Use, let's say, required arguments constructor annotation to clean up your dependency injection. Use the builder annotation to make your tests or service classes more readable. But always and always and always make sure that you understand what is happening under the hood. That is, that it is just generating the Java code that you would have written by hand anyway. And the more you work with the Lombok annotations, what you are going to realize is that, at least what I realized in my experience, is that clean code is not just about writing less. It is actually more about reading more of what matters actually. I hope that you found this video helpful. If you would like to see more content like this, please make sure to like and subscribe. And I again thank you for your time and thank you for watching so far. And I hope to see you in the next one.